On the second anniversary of Hamas's deadly October 7th attacks, hundreds of students across the United Kingdom poured onto university campuses and city streets, defying political warnings and calls for restraint. The protests, held in London, Sheffield, and Edinburgh, came just days after two people were killed at a synagogue in Manchester, an event that had already heightened tension between communities. Yet, despite appeals from the government and Jewish leaders to postpone their rallies, students chose to move forward, insisting that silence was not an option. Outside King's College London, a large crowd of young demonstrators wearing keffiyehs and face masks gathered near the Strand. They unfurled a long banner listing the names of Palestinians killed in the ongoing conflict, their voices rising with chants of "Palestine will be free" and "From the river to the sea."
7th. Do you agree with him?
I don't agree with him because it's not un-British to exercise our right to protest, our freedom of expression.
Is this disrespectful, though, to people mourning the loss of life on October 7th 2 years ago?
It's not disrespectful. It's not a denial of the Holocaust, not a denial of Jewish identity.
Do you condemn what Hamas did on October 7th?
I don't care for that question.
Nearby, at the London School of Economics, students waved flags and beat drums, demanding an end to what they called oppression and collective punishment. Similar scenes unfolded at the University of Sheffield, where around 100 students assembled in solidarity, and at Edinburgh University, where hundreds more filled the square outside the main library, holding placards with slogans such as "Freedom for Gaza" and "Ceasefire Now." The students made their position clear. "We will continue to honor each and every one of our martyrs," declared Haya Adam, president of the Palestine Society at King's College. Students are rising up for Palestine. Anton Paraki of the Revolutionary Communist Party stood on a makeshift stage and challenged the criticism coming from political leaders, asking, "Are all these people here anti-British? Are the millions who have taken to the streets across the world anti-British too?"
For Jewish people to mourn. It's a different view, of course, you hear from the people here.
I don't think Keir Starmer really understands the issue. I don't think it's anti-Semitism to show up. In fact, we're showing up for Jews, for Muslims, for Christians. We're showing up for everyone today. And I think to make it a story about anti-Semitism is where Keir Starmer just has completely missed the narrative.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, genocide is the worst possible crime that anyone can commit. As long as the genocide is still going on, then I think any day is appropriate to dispute. And I'm sure that you'll find the Jewish members amongst the crowd here today. I've met more Jewish people on these demonstrations than I'd met my entire life before October 2023.
It's less than a week since an attack on a synagogue in Manchester.
His words drew loud cheers from the crowd. One student speaker added emotionally, "This did not start on 7th October. Entire generations have been born under siege and displacement. Freedom is a fallen word to them. They have known only humiliation and grief." But not everyone saw it that way. Standing across the road from King's College, Israeli visitor Emily Schrader held a small Israeli flag in a quiet counter-protest. She said the timing of the student rallies was offensive, accusing organizers of showing sympathy for Hamas. "It's a sign of support for the actions that happened that day. It's wildly irresponsible both to Israelis and to Palestinians who've also suffered under Hamas." The demonstrations drew swift and fierce condemnation from across the political spectrum. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer branded the timing of the protests un-British and said they showed little respect for others. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson urged students to pause and show some humanity, while Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch accused protesters of displaying the same hatred that fueled the Hamas attacks. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick went further in calling the plans for marches on that date a disgrace, and Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey said the protests were completely wrong. Vivian Stern, head of Universities UK, also weighed in, warning students and staff that expressing support for a terrorist organization is a criminal offense. She said we must remember that 7th October was the anniversary of an atrocious attack on innocent people. Her comments came as reports confirmed the tragic details of the Manchester synagogue attack, where two men, Adrian Dowelby and Melvin Kravitz, were killed, one by a stray police bullet and the other while trying to protect worshippers. Despite the controversy, student organizers insisted their protests were peaceful and rooted in solidarity, not hate.
The genocide happening in Gaza, so I'm here to support Gaza and Palestine.
If they're offended by this, it says more about them than it says about any of us here. If you think that me protesting for human rights of a group of people is offensive towards you, then that is your problem. That is not any of our problem. We are for humans. We don't want to kill humans. This is what we're protesting. We're not protesting anything else. We're not protesting to hate any other group of people.
They rejected accusations of anti-Semitism and claimed their movement stood against violence of all kinds. Still, their decision to demonstrate on such a sensitive date divided public opinion and deepened Britain's growing political rift over Israel and Palestine. The government, meanwhile, faces pressure to curb what it calls inflammatory chants at future marches. Ministers are reportedly exploring legal measures to restrict certain slogans, arguing they blur the line between political expression and hate speech. Free speech campaigners, however, warn that clamping down on protest language would be a dangerous step towards silencing dissent. Beyond the shouting and slogans, the events of the day reflected a deeper unease running through British society. For many students, these demonstrations were not about celebrating violence, but about drawing attention to suffering in Gaza and calling for accountability. For others, they represented a painful reminder of the trauma inflicted by Hamas 2 years ago and a disregard for the Jewish community's grief. As protests continue and tensions remain high, one question hangs over the country. How far can freedom of expression stretch before it becomes a threat to unity? Whether viewed as a stand for justice or an act of disrespect, these demonstrations have once again forced the UK to confront its struggle with free speech, identity, and compassion in an increasingly divided world. If you're following this story, don't forget to subscribe for more updates on UK politics, protests, and international reactions, because what happens next could reshape how Britain defines the limits of protest and the meaning of solidarity.